Can we pause?
I'm sorry, there's a spider
I've been staring at it since it was on that wall. I've been watching it
I don't know if we're
going
gonna cut this out, but there is a spider, and I'm deathly afraid.
Step on it.
You're not deathly afraid.
I just keep your eye on it. Just keep your eye on it. If it moves my way, please let me know.
Cowboy, step on it.
Well, welcome to Signs of Life, where we find hope in the headlines. My name is Chase Tremere. I'm one of our hosts, and today I'm joined by, of course, Serena Tremere and Montana Christopherson.
Yay.
How are y'all doing?
I'm good.
Great.
Okay, so I have to ask, because I got made fun of in the first episode about my outfit, and it's kind of an ongoing thing that happens to me.
Well, it was a snow leopard outfit.
It wasn't
so be very
snow
specific.
leopard.
It was, yeah.
Second episode was a little better. Is today, am I okay? Is my fit
Is this
okay?
your cowboy outfit?
I've got boots on.
You're like an
Literally.
emoji that we get to change the outfits of.
Bitmoji. You're a Bitmoji.
You're a Bitmoji.
You called it a cowboy shirt, which
Well,
was very misleading.
I just had boots, and it's kind of westerny because these are, what are these, paisleys? What are these called?
Can't see that far away. That's
Okay.
the tiniest little plant
Yeah.
in the world. So.
Help me
No
out.
one
I don't
knows.
know. I don't know.
I don't know.
But your Bitmoji?
Oh!
Your Bitmoji outfit is much better than last episode's, yes.
I appreciate
Yes.
I
You're doing well.
appreciate
You're working your way up.
that.
Everybody put some tips for Chase.
Fashion tips for Chase.
Starting
that's
a new
important.
series.
That is more important. Anything
New
that you're
series.
working on
Yeah.
in your life, please send me your fashion tips.
This is true.
So I'm winning. Today I'm winning.
Today you're okay.
You're
Well,
winning.
cool. Well,
No, you're winning. You're winning. Hype him up. Hype
Oh,
him
you're
up.
winning.
Hype
Good
him
job,
up.
Chase.
Well, today we're talking about winning and failing, and apparently I'm doing one of
You're not
one.
failing.
I'm in the middle somewhere, it seems.
No, it's good. It is
Okay.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no.
Seriously. It's good.
You stuck the landing.
Good. That's what I wanted to hear. That was a
I don't
good
know
one
if you,
too.
I don't know if you made Matt, but you stuck the landing.
I
did not
hope I
make
made
Matt.
that.
You're 22 out of
We're talking
40,
about cheer today a little bit, so I just slide that one in.
Thank you. I
Did you
appreciate
make
that. Montana, why don't you go ahead and kick us off with our first
Okay.
story that's been
Yes.
floating around a lot.
Okay, our first story is about Axel Webber. I'm sure, hopefully, everybody's heard of him because I literally love
Tell
his
us
TikToks.
who is Axel.
He's a
I haven't
TikToker.
heard of
I
him.
haven't heard of Axel.
That is just
We're
awful.
old. I'm sorry.
Yeah. He is a TikToker that became super famous because of his tiny little apartment in New York.
Teeny tiny?
It's
How
literally
tiny?
like super small. Like
Like
Oh,
a tiny house small
that's
or like?
measurable.
no, like a closet small.
Oh, no.
Like he just has a bunk bed. You like walk in and there's a bunk bed, and it's pretty funny. The joke is like he has 2 beds, but it's literally the smallest apartment, and he's like, "This is for my guests." It's just funny.
How many square
And a
feet
little
are we
sink.
talking?
I don't know that math, but not bigger than this rug on the floor.
Wow.
Seriously. So he became super famous, but he lives in New York and he wants to be an actor. That's kind of his goal.
Aspiration.
And unfortunately, he did not get into Juilliard. And someone also super famous stitched his
What does
video.
stitched
like
mean?
replied to his video on
Tell
TikTok
us,
with
Gen
another
Z.
TikTok.
I knew that one, by the way,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
that was
It's just a way to reply to a video.
Gotcha.
But we'll watch it and I'll show
I
you.
understand. Let's hear this stitch.
Now we're gonna have to find a different way to be an actor. We can do it.
Hello, Axel. I replied to your video, but I figured I'd do a video message as well. Not only did I not get into Juilliard, but I didn't get into 5 of these prestigious schools that I wanted to get into that I thought could better my career. And while I do think school is great, and I did end up going to Berkeley, a prestigious conservatory for the arts is not going to be the thing that defines your career as an actor. It certainly wasn't the only and most important thing that made my career happen. We experience rejection every day of our lives. And as hard as it is to swallow in the moment, it's the thing that pushes you further creatively. It pushes my music, it's gonna push your acting as well. So you, Axel, do not need to worry at all. I like your videos a lot. There's something very special about you. And I like your tiny apartment. You're gonna be okay, bro, I promise.
And I like his eyebrow shade.
I know, it's
Just
pretty
kidding.
cool.
Kidding, not kidding.
Oh.
Who is that?
That is Charlie Puth. He's pretty famous musician, singer, guy, and he's also a king of TikTok.
Oh,
So,
royalty.
Yes, he really is. Not many celebrities can do TikTok well, but he can.
I'm one of
thought it
those
was
too.
so
I'm
sweet.
part of the court.
As the jester?
Well, there, I stepped into that one.
What? So, anyways,
Oh my God.
I do think it was very funny that his hair part changed 12 times in
I
the
thought
video.
it was funny that there were like 12 million cuts
There
in that
was,
one.
yeah. Which
For a TikTok king.
I know. I don't really think that's usually his style, but I don't know. It kind of goes to show, like, he was very intentional of this
He did
video.
care.
He
Yeah,
wanted
that's
to
true.
encourage him. But, like, so do you agree with what he was saying? Like, that failure drives success, or, like, will drive his career more than getting in?
I think one, that's his true story, you know. So to sharing that with Axel is huge, coming from TikTok royalty. But that's his truth. Like, learning that he didn't get into 5 other prestigious universities, and I mean, look at his success, you know. I mean, I remember talking with a client of mine years ago who applied to 18 different Ivy League schools.
Oh my.
And this was a valedictorian, okay? And got rejected to all of them. And I think in that, there was a huge learning experience for her, but also for me, because I was like, wait, what? And it comes down to like, being yourself, for at least in that situation. And like Axel, like, if he didn't get into this first one, and if he's so focused on like, who knows why he didn't get in, but like, I think if he just continues to focus on like being himself and finding his spot, whether it be this prestigious Juilliard or some other place, like if he perseveres in still trying instead of simply quitting,
True.
he's gonna land exactly where he needs to land.
And I think we've heard so many stories, like lots of famous people who've created some amazing things. I mean, from everyone, Steve Jobs, Walt Disney, we've seen those, Michael Jordan, all of them. They all have these bits of their story where they failed, or they were shut down, they were fired, they were let go, they were told they weren't good enough, and then they obviously went on to great things. And I think of course, like, that's his story, but I think it's just true, period. Whether or not you become successful at that thing you failed at, success doesn't have to be simply just the thing that you're trying to do. Like, you can find success. If that doesn't work, it's okay to start something else. It's okay to try something else.
Yeah.
I think it's more about the fight, like more about staying in it and not giving up, and just quitting and sitting back and saying, this is as good as it can be. Like, I think there's always room for progress and getting better. But it doesn't necessarily mean that if you don't progress or you're not taking these huge leaps forward, that you're not successful either. I think there's something to be said for the effort that you put in and the fact that you are growing, even when you do try something.
Do you feel like effort of doing something is enough? You know, like if it's not what lands you somewhere, it's not the getting into Juilliard or making the basketball team or whatever, and it's the effort that's like enough to fuel someone's self. I feel like
I think what you're saying. So once again, competition. Like, there's a point. We're competing to win.
Yeah.
I think what we have to decide is to redefine what failure is to us. Like, when I fail, that doesn't mean I'm necessarily a failure. When I lost, it doesn't mean I'm a loser.
Right.
Serena and I have talked about this all the time, like things that we say to our kids or things we say to each other, like you lied, but I'm not going to say you're a liar. Like, there's this identity thing that attaches to that.
It's a character attack, right?
Yeah.
And we do that to ourselves all the time. And so we have to maintain like our self-esteem apart from what we're doing. So if a door gets shut in our face, like it did for Axel, he got denied, that doesn't all of a sudden mean like, hey, you know what, your life is over and, you know, you should stop pursuing anything, you know?
At all, yeah.
It's a moment and it's an experience, but that's not the end of the story, you know? So like, I think failure is it's not the opposite of success, it's just part of it. It's part of the story, you know? It's part of the journey. And if we see it like that and we change our relationship with doors slamming in our face, getting rejected, getting denied, I mean, failing a test, whatever it is for you in your life, then we can remain intact. Our self-esteem can remain intact because our relationship with failure isn't associated to obtaining that thing, that win, or that acceptance, or whatever it is on the other side of that, whatever your success is. But I think the bigger goal is to remain intact and persevering through that. You know, it's like, to your question, like, is effort enough? I think we should always give effort. We should always try. We should always persevere.
Yeah.
You know, and that is, in my opinion, failure plus perseverance is success.
That's good.
You know, when we fall short, but we continue going, we scrape off our knees and get off of our face because we're gonna fall on our face, but we continue. And man, and then at some point we do the thing maybe in a completely different way than we ever expected. Like, that's the story right
It's
there.
like Lucy. So our youngest, she fell on her face.
On your watch.
On my watch. It was when I was sick, and it was a hard week.
That
But
is not the
she was
only
like going
time.
downhill in our driveway because we were outside trying to get some sun, and she literally like fell and then continued to fall. Like her feet almost came up over her head.
gosh.
She was moving so fast, and
sweet
it like
Lucy
busted her
bear.
little nose and lip. But the thing
that's
is,
so
like,
sad.
cried, blood, sure, okay. But she got up, and you gotta keep going.
Yeah.
You gotta keep going, Luce. That's what I
Sorry.
told her. It's like, you got it. Come on, girl.
And she did.
She did. She did great.
She also fell that one
We
time
can learn from Liz.
at the birthday party. That was pretty funny because that was your fault.
That was my fault. She did fall off a mat. But it was a
Dad,
short
on,
mat.
All on
It was
Dad's
okay.
watch. All on Dad's watch.
Just to be
put
clear.
that out there.
Parenting was last week. I'm dad of the year still in my mind, so we're gonna move forward. But I love what you just said though about like trying and effort, failing, success, and it's a really, really interesting picture of our next topic, which is Cheer, which is this documentary docu-series on Netflix. Season 2 came out recently. Because we were sick last week, I was sick. We watched all of it, ran through the whole thing, and we've been interested in it. We love watching docuseries. I know a lot of people do. Cheer is very
Especially
popular.
athletic docuseries.
Yes.
Like Last Chance U, like all of those.
Yes,
They get me.
love it. And what's interesting about Cheer is we have 2 seasons now. Season 1 is very different from season 2, and I think this topic, not just success, but like failure. And more, even deeper than that, like the person
Personal
underneath.
failure?
Yes, really came out in this. And this article we found, BuzzFeed News, it says the second season of Netflix's Cheer is uncomfortable to watch.
Yeah.
Which is like
That's
a
exactly how I
perfect
felt watching
line.
it. Yeah. Like I was cringing like halfway through. Like cringing might be like, no, I was. I was like sitting in bed and I was like, oh my God, what's gonna happen?
So what Cheer is, let me explain to people who
Yes.
haven't seen it. Cheer is a docuseries that focuses on Navarro Junior College, which is in Texas, and in Corsicana, yep. And it focuses on their kind of competition season that always culminates to the end in Daytona, which is like the big competition at the end of the year.
NCAA.
They are very good. They've won 14 national titles, and they ended up obviously last season the first season they won, which was awesome. And then this season was like, okay, what are they going to do next? But then they brought in this other college that's right down the road, kind of their rival, which is Trinity Valley. And it's these 2 cheer teams. What I loved about this season too is completely opposite teams, like personalities, the way that they operated, the way the coaches operated, but they're also both very successful. Like they both have lots of national titles.
Right.
They're always kind of back and forth between who got first and who got second. But what was uncomfortable about this one is you have Navarro, that's this focus, and they blew up. I mean, blew up.
Yeah, one of the biggest, most popular cheer teams in the nation.
And the like some of the captains and the coach were on, all these talk
Oprah,
shows.
Talking to the president,
Oprah,
on the red carpet.
One of the guys, Jerry, was on the red carpet interviewing people. Like they,
Ellen gave him $20,000.
yes,
like,
constantly
big deal.
on all of these shows. But then this season was a picture of, in the middle of all of their effort, their practices, their being the best and trying to continue to be the best, there were so many personal failures, so many personal things that were getting lost, that were really like, what I would say is like they were losing their soul in the middle of this high
Victories.
level of competition and victory. And I think that's why it was uncomfortable, but it was like, it made me ask the question, what we're talking about and seeing even Charlie's story and these things is like, is this worth it? Like, so what if you win? So what if you get a national title in whatever you're doing? So what if you end up in first?
Right.
Is it worth losing yourself in the middle of that? Is that really worth it? I think when we see someone else's story, we say, well, of course not. But then when we ask ourselves and reflect on our journey and how much we fight and strive and try to be better and want to win, like, do we take shortcuts? Do we pay attention to the wrong things? Do we let the things that should be a focus kind of slip on or get put on the back burner?
Yeah.
And so you said you were uncomfortable, Serena. What made you uncomfortable watching this?
I was, because it was, I saw through the lens of like the failure pieces, like we're kind of talking about, and like the personal failures more so in that they had so much to the, outsider looking in, successful. 14 national titles. I mean, they're on the red carpet. They're over here. They're winning. And granted, yes, like
They're getting interviewed from like the Today Show for Australia, for the Today Show here.
Anyone
all these
looking
interviews.
in is like, wow, like they've made it. You know, you have little 6-year-old fangirls who like want their signature and like, you know, they're just kind of like really idolized in the cheer world, but also America fell in love with them, right? Like we just did. But like in the midst of all that appearance of success was a soul that was corroded. And there was a lot of personal secrets, and there was a lot of baggage and a lot of pain and a lot of stuff that ended up coming undone and hurting a lot of people, you know, and I'm referencing Jerry and some other different relationships in this show. I don't want to give too many spoilers, but, you know, it was cringy because for those who aren't familiar with this show, that Jerry has been convicted of, you know, alleged of sexual abuse of 2 minors, and they interviewed those minors in the show, and
Jerry's one of the cheerleaders.
Jerry's one of the
male
main cheerleaders,
yeah.
right? And he had this like his persona was this like super, you know, positive. He would give the cheer mat talk, and everyone, you know, like just adored him. And behind closed doors, I mean, he was hurting people.
Mm-hmm. This article uses the term toxic positivity, which is such a great term as you watch, knowing all these other stories, and they come out, but you pay attention to the news, you've seen them even before the season debuted, and that's exactly what it is. It's just this fake, like inauthentic cheering, like positivity and this, you know, they call it mat talk, which is where you just yell and encourage people, you're so great, you're so awesome, and way to go, woo, and like it feels good, but it's so empty, and it's so shallow. And I think about, there's a verse that in the Bible, Jesus, this you know, this phrase he says, and it stuck with me for so long, and he says, what good is a man if he gains the whole world, but forfeits his soul, like loses his soul in the process of it. And once again, you hear that phrase and you would think, well, I would never do that. Right. But I think when you get even a taste of something, of success, and success seems big, it seems like, oh, I gotta be interviewed on TV, but like when you do good at something, when you win something, when you are known to be someone who's good at this thing and then people start coming to you to help, you get that. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, you wanna say yes to things and you wanna do all of it and you wanna still get better. And the thing, like, and I'll ask y'all, like, how do you not lose your soul then? Like, what do you do to keep from gaining everything, gaining the whole world, but not lose yourself in the middle of that?
And that's where, like, I saw, like, Monica, the lead coach, she's super decorated in all of her awards and accolades, but, you know, she was on Dancing with the Stars and had all these amazing opportunities. But as you're watching the show, you just, from my lens, I saw, man, and her soul was corroding. Like, she was in pain. And I think that whether this is, we're talking about cheer or we're talking about just our average lives, right? And whatever it is that we're aspiring in, if we're business owners and a deal goes bad, if we are, you know, a TikTok influencer or a social media influencer, and you know what, it's not going as we thought, or whatever our life is, if we're on a journey to achieve or accomplish something, don't stop achieving. Like, it's a great thing, but if our self-worth is linked up with that thing and the outcome of that thing, we're not on a great path.
Right. I even think about, like, there's no professional cheerleading. And so, you know, when you're saying their identity is attached to it, I feel like, you know, part of them is going to be crushed. Like, they're going to be, you know, like, lost at the end of
like,
the 2 years.
Who am I?
Tomorrow.
If we didn't win.
There's nothing else.
Yeah, who am I if Monica's not here to coach me? You know, if I link up all of my self-worth with those things, those successes, to validate me or to even to judge or determine my self-worth, I'm not on a good path. I'm on a path of shame. I'm on a path of identifying as a failure, you know, and I think instead of linking our self-worth to these successes, whatever those things are, that we need to focus on just being of service, of making the world a better place, of enjoying that journey, right? Focusing on, am I living a meaningful life? Like, yes, there's dips. Yes, this sucks. Yes, I'm in pain, right? When I learn about Jerry and all of these different other things, I'd lost the competition, spoiler alert, sorry. Like, those sort of things, but like, if I focus on all of those things that went wrong and I am like, you know what, I wasted 2 years, I'm a loser, I'm a disappointment to my family, I'm not a champion, whatever it might be, oh my gosh, we plummet.
That's awful.
Our heart, our soul, our identity is in those things. And so we have to find our identity in something much bigger.
That's good.
Something that won't fail, doesn't end.
Like.
And it's not saying competition's bad.
No.
It's saying
Right.
you don't base your identity off that. And the word I would use even like you have to be, there's a level of maturity to enter a competition too. Like, I have to be content with who I am, with what I see, with how I feel, for us,
Right.
we would say like, okay, am I content with who I feel like I really am and who God's saying I am? From there, I'll go compete and I'll go try to do things and I might win or I might lose, but my contentment is not based off of those circumstances because they'll always change. It's based off of being rooted in my identity and knowing who I am. And once I'm secure in that, one, I can go compete better because I'm not going to always try to know that I have to level up because that'll die.
Because I'm chasing.
Fall off unless you're Tom Brady and who continues to level up, and I don't know how he's doing it. But I had to slip something in there because the Cowboys killed me. I'm so sorry. But just that thought of like, okay, we tried and we're satisfied with what we did, and even if we're not, like, I'm gonna try harder next time.
I'm gonna
but
persevere.
That doesn't change who I am.
Right.
Yeah.
That doesn't change who I am. And I think about that as even in my own personal life. Like, this is a struggle I have. Like, I jokingly use this term all the time, but like sometimes like I feel like I'm always a bridesmaid, never a bride. Like, I'm never first place, I'm never the one. Like, and
You were the one for me, though.
and I appreciate that. So cute.
So cute.
So cute. Deflecting away from what we're talking about, but cute. But just that thought of like, that's always been hard because I've wanted to be the winner. I've wanted to get first place. I've wanted to be at the top.
Yeah.
And I have to really come up to grips with like, okay, what would I give up in that? And if I continued to focus on that failure, what am I ignoring? And I think about like what you said, and kind of joking, but really like, okay, I have a family, I have kids, I have all like friends and relationships and all these things that are going really well. I have myself. I have who God's developing me to be.
Yeah.
And it's still a battle, and I obviously still struggle with it, but the good days is when I can be content in that and say, that's a good place to be.
Yeah.
That matters more than some position or some trophy or some recognition or whatever it might be. And then there's other days where it's like, yeah, but I still want to win. Like, I still want to be it. And it's hard.
How do you balance that?
I think, well, we talk.
We do.
So having someone to one, share those feelings with, because those feelings are okay to have,
Right. Yeah.
and those thoughts, and like, once again, it's okay to want to get better.
Yeah.
But I think even asking why, like, ask yourself the question why. Like, why do you want to get that? What if you had that? What would change?
Yeah.
And when I think about that, I'm like, well, things would probably change, but at what expense as well? And then, is that going to lead me to some feeling that I'm thinking is going to happen or that I want to happen? And is that really important? Like, is that something that is worth holding on to or something worth striving for? Yeah. Most times not. And I think, once again, when you're in a good place or a healthy place or a rested place, then that's easy to see. Sure. Other times it's not. And so it's a good thing, I think, to be reminded of, why do I really want the things I want right now? And is that leading me to the person that I want to be, the person that God's calling me to be? At least that's how I operate. And so I think that's what I do, is kind of evaluate the why behind those feelings.
And that can be really hard. Like, for me, it can be really difficult to separate what is happening externally versus what's happening internally. And it's hard for me to like self-reflect on those things. Like, when you're saying why, like if someone were to come to me and be like, why are you doing this? I'd be like, oh my gosh, I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. Like, I have a little panic, like an internal panic, because I don't know. And like, I think about like emotional contentment. Like, we threw around contentment a lot. And that feels really difficult. Like, I want to get better. If you want to get better, maybe you're experiencing some depression or anxiety and you don't want that anymore. That's fair. To get better, but also remain content, it feels like a little bit of a paradox.
It is a
I don't
paradox.
know.
It's something
Yeah.
that in Scripture Paul talks about. He learned to be content.
Yeah.
Right. Like in Philippians 4, he says, "I'm not saying that I'm not in need. I'm saying that I've learned to be content in any circumstance. When I'm hungry, when I'm not, when I'm in want, or when I'm in need, when I have everything." You know, like he goes on and on and on, and it begs the question of like, okay, well, how do you learn that?
Yeah.
You know, and I think it says because I've failed, I've gone in all these situations, highs and lows, and in them I've always gained something back, which is insight, right? Insight into, hey, you know what? At the end of the day, having all or having nothing isn't the goal. It's who am I becoming? Who am I becoming in the process? You know, and Paul, when he wrote that, he was in prison.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and he's sitting there saying, I'm content. Because I've learned in the journey, I've learned. And so if it's like, you know, but what about when things are like really bad?
Yeah.
Right? Like, what about when things are really bad? And what am I supposed to be content even in those circumstances? Like, what is that?
I
What do
know.
y'all think? What would that look like?
I don't know. I think it's okay to not be content. Like, I don't think contentment all the time can lead to almost like, I don't know, like almost like a life without meaning. Like if you're just good with everything,
Does contentment
but
though
that's
mean
not content.
complacent?
I don't know.
Yeah, see, I would disagree. Like, I think you should always be content. I think you need to define what you're thinking content
Yeah,
is. Because
yeah.
complacent, you say complacent, yeah. Like, complacent is like, I'm fine
I
with
don't
what it
care.
is, even though I know it could be better, it's fine.
Yeah.
Content is, I think, a place internally, like at a, we say a soul level, but like if
Position
that
of your
doesn't-
heart.
Yeah, mentally, like,
Yeah.
I'm okay. I want this to be better, so I'm going to try it. If it doesn't get better, that I still am okay. Like, I'm still secure. I'm still the same person. I'm still loved. I'm still belong. I still.
But
cared
maybe
for.
maybe that means that let me look at something that I can change. What's in
Yes.
my control to adjust these circumstances that are
Yeah.
bad, right? Is something in my marriage, something going on with my children, something going on with, you know, my place of work, or, you know, whatever it might be. Like, that doesn't mean that I'm complacent and I just let all this terrible stuff continue to happen to me and woe is me. It just means that in my heart of hearts, I'm okay.
Yeah, you said position. It's almost like a posture. It's like
Yeah, it's a
how you
posture.
carry yourself,
Yeah.
but internally, like emotionally, mentally, spiritually. Like, how do you carry yourself? Is your head held high? So I'm facing hard things, but I'm not allowing myself to shut down, to say now yours to failure, give up, to just sit back and be
swallowed
fine
up by
or
shame.
complacent, but to say, okay, my head's still high. This sucks. This is hard. I'm crying and my head's high, or I'm yelling and my head's still up high, or I'm happy, but like the posture of myself is I'm still moving forward. Like I'm still
Persevering.
finding room for growth. I'm still persevering.
What are like practical ways someone could learn that? Because I think for me, I will go straight to compliance, right? Compliance is that right?
Complacent?
Complacent.
Words are hard.
Compliance, yeah.
English.
Yeah, English is hard. Instead of contentment, like I think that's my natural way to fall. Like I feel like I can go with the flow, do whatever.
Yeah.
Like even challenges come, they go. Like I get that, but I find myself more being like, all right, well,
It is what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is. Like, yeah, that bad thing happened. Well, tomorrow something else bad is probably gonna happen, you know. And it's not a good place to be in. I can recognize that, but I think trying to be content, trying to learn how to be content is hard. So what are some things that we can do?
I think first we have to pause, and we have to give ourselves a moment to say, like, whoa, you know what? I'm doing it again. I'm doing the it is what it is, the complacency again. And if we can have appreciation for what is good, not disqualify all that's going right, because a lot of times we'll focus on the negative,
Yeah.
right? We got to see, like, hey, there's a lot that's going right. Like, back to Chase's point of, like, looking and having gratitude for what is, not what isn't, not what if, but what is. And in this moment, I'm mindful of all the things that are going right, you know, and showing appreciation for the people in our lives, showing gratitude for what's going well, and gratitude for, like, I'm thankful that I have this, that this is going this way, that I, you know, not everything is falling apart, just a piece, a part, right?
Yeah.
Because we can really catastrophize.
Sure.
And then it just seems like everything's, you know, going to hell in a handbasket.
Using big words.
Did I
like
say that?
catastrophize.
Did I say that phrase right?
Hell in a
think so.
handbasket?
Hell in a handbasket?
I think so. Don't know exactly what it means.
Okay,
Like,
I think it means.
la, la, la. I'm walking down like Dorothy's yellow brick road is actually to hell, not to.
I'm not good with phrases, guys. You're gonna come to know this, and so when I nail it, I feel like we gotta celebrate. You know, show gratitude.
Good job. I'm proud of you.
No, I'm not comparing you, Montana, to a 3-year-old, almost 4-year-old. But like with Daisy, this is what because I'm terrible at being grateful and being thankful. And I don't know, I read it, heard it somewhere, but I started doing this with her. Like we go to bed at night, and before, like we take a moment, we like to pray, and we stop and say, okay, what's one thing we're grateful for today? And what I find with her is she remembers like the big things in her life. Yeah. So, and everything for her is yesterday. Like it could have been 2 years ago, still yesterday. So like, for instance, literally yesterday, when we did this, she said, well, I loved yesterday Halloween and wearing my Mighty Pup Sky costume. And I'm like, well, that wasn't yesterday. That was months ago. But what about today? Like, that's a big thing, and you remember that, and it's like core memory for her. Like, love it. But like, something good happened today, though. Like, what happened? What do you think for today? And she's like, I'm thankful I got to play a game with you. And that was sweet, and I cried, of course. But like, getting her to see, like, it doesn't have to be these monumental things that happen. Like, I can be grateful a lot, and I think that is a key to starting down that road of learning to be
also
content.
like living like appreciating the simple things. You know, like not
Which is what
always
that
the
is.
highlight reel.
Food, coffee.
Yeah, but just the simple things, and like, you know what? It was a slow morning, and the sun looked great in my living room today, and I appreciate that. Like, it's a simple thing, because sometimes we're focusing on all of the things that are going wrong, or all the things that we don't have, and we lose sight of, man, but look around.
Well, we're going to go into our mailbag segment today. This is where we get to hear from you as the listener. So whether you send a DM, a random question, or something that could be attached to the show, or it's one of the questions we've asked, you email us, however, we love to hear from you. So today we have our first mailbag. This is going to be from Becca in Boston. I haven't seen this yet. And this is what Becca asked. She says, I feel a lot of shame and embarrassment when I don't accomplish something I set out to do. Even if I'm proud of what I did accomplish or how I handled having to change my plans, I still feel the shame of failure. Is this something most people deal with? Any advice on how to be more gentle to myself in a way that I actually believe it? And I'll just kick off the middle question, the easy one. Most people, yes, Becca, everyone deals with this. Like, we set out to accomplish something, plans change. Whether we have to change plans and maybe only accomplish half of it, or whether like we have to just stop and do something completely different. I think all of us struggle with that. But I love the way she, like Becky, you already put it, how to be more gentle to myself in a way that I believe it.
That is so key. Like, yes, I feel like people give these shallow answers like, oh, just love yourself. And you're like, okay, that's not just going to make me believe it by saying it one time.
Right.
Like, that's not helpful. So, any
So
advice?
what is helpful?
Answer.
I don't know.
We're looking at you.
Looking at Serena for this one.
No, first of all, yes, most people, everyone experiences this to some degree, okay? But I will spotlight a handful of people who may experience this more intensely. Any perfectionists in the room, okay? Any anxiety-ridden people in the room, okay? When there's change, when there's a perfectionist who says, like, I've aspired to do this thing, and it's gonna look like this, it's gonna smell like this, it's gonna taste like this, it's gonna feel like this, and then it comes apart. Okay, this is all directly in line with what we've been talking about of like, when my self-worth, when I judge my self-worth according to my accomplishments, and it has to look like this, and then it doesn't happen, what does that mean about me? Right? Because she said, how can I be more gentle on myself? Because it's a self thing. And shame sounds like this. Shame sounds like, I am blank. I am a failure, right? It's an identity that we take on. So if you fell short in this thing that you wanted to accomplish, and that shame is eating you alive, understand that that's not helpful. That attack on yourself is not helpful. And as you know, it's not gentle to yourself, but we have to accept setbacks. Like, we have to learn how to accept setbacks and how to change the narrative in your head from I'm a failure to that wasn't my best.
Yeah.
Right? Like, from my identity to like my actions. And I can shift my actions, but when I attack my identity, I don't want to get out of bed.
Right. Right.
You know, I don't want to do something else. I don't want to try again. I just want to simply quit. And J.K. Rowling has a quote that I think was huge, because it says, your conception of failure might not be too far removed from the average person's idea of success. So what you've already accomplished to any other person might be, wow,
Good job. Yeah.
great, that's amazing, right? But for the person in it, it's like, yeah, no, that's a total, just throw it all away. You know, that's a waste, that's a failure. So I think getting some perspective on like, wow, like not focusing on the setback or the negative, but what is good, and persevering, because the end of the story is not that, hey, you know what, you sucked. Hey, you know what, you had to fall short, or you landed on your face, or you didn't get to do the thing because of whatever. It's, and what am I going to do? How am I going to pick myself up? Because I think when your identity is linked to the absolute that I am a failure, like in your mind, you've already positioned yourself to like, it can't get better than this.
Yeah, and I think I'm going to say this, but I should say this to myself as well. I don't do it. But whatever it is you set out to accomplish that you didn't do, like pause, once again, I love a good pause. Pause and like write down, what did you learn along the way? Like,
who did you become along the way?
Who did you become? What things did you get better at? What things did you try that you had never tried before? Like, there's so much growth that is happening in the midst. Like we said earlier, failure is part of the road to success. It's part of the road to winning.
Part of the story.
It's what practice is. Right. Like, practice is so you can go do something wrong and fix it to know how to do it right the next time, and to do it next time, the time that matters, when it counts. And I think about that, though. I gotta tell myself that too, but I tell Becca that and all of us. I mean, come on, it's like a few weeks into the year already. We've probably already messed our goals up.
True.
Like our resolutions, whatever
or
you had.
Or you could be like me and just don't set them.
Exactly. That's a whole nother question, a whole nother topic. But like, someone's probably already mad at themselves and embarrassed and ashamed, maybe like Becca, about what they set out to do. And I think there's things that you've learned. And I read this really good book called Atomic Habits, and talks about building these smaller like habits to reach your goals. But part of it's what you just said is like, what is it that you need to become to get to that goal? And what's one small thing you can do? So, if it's a discipline thing, okay, then I'm a disciplined person. And what does that mean for me? That means I need to do this thing once a day, or I need to work out if it's working out. I need to do this working out 3 times a week. Well, don't just say that. Say like, okay, I'm gonna say I'm working out Monday, Wednesday, Friday at this time. And it's like learning to talk to yourself different and learning to set those smaller steps, and then seeing that like little growth over time is huge. Yeah. And so whatever Becca's thing is or our thing is, if it's a big goal, it's gonna take some small steps to get there, but those small steps on top of each other, like those are huge. Whether or not you get to that big goal at the end of it or not, you have developed into something different, into somebody new.
Was it a meaningful life?
Yeah.
Right? Was the pursuit meaningful? And if it was, that's not a failure.
And did you enjoy it?
Yeah.
Like, if it's something fun, if it's something challenging, did you have fun along the way? And once again, too, if you have breath in your lungs, you get to try again.
Hey.
Go set out and do it again. I mean, try again until you can't try anymore, and then try something else.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of my thought. Even when we talk about signs of life, like we're finding hope in the headlines, but like finding signs of life in our life, like keep going, keep your head up, keep seeing the sun rise, keep trusting that there's a new day, keep trusting that you're not alone, that there's something good in you that's been placed there by God, I think, and that good thing is becoming something better, and it's progress. Sometimes it hurts, sometimes it's hard, sometimes it's 1 step back, 2 steps forward, but it's a good thing that's happening.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that.
Well, we want to say thank you. I mean, that was so good. I closed it up right there. You got nothing over there. But hey, we do have, and I'm going to steal this because Montana was going to try to say it. Atomic Habits, any of these other resources we've talked about, we're going to put in the show notes, and we would love for you to check those out. We know those will be helpful for you. And also, we want to encourage you, like this, subscribe, make sure you've got notifications turned on.
Leave a review.
Well, yeah, leave a review as well. I'll see, you got me
love a
there.
review.
You stole it back.
Yeah, got it
Nicely
back.
Review
done.
Chase's outfits.
Yes, please.
Leave a review, share it with someone. If you're watching us, that's great. If you're only listening to us, this is a video show. You can check us out on YouTube. It's obviously in a podcast format as well. But yeah, please follow along. We would love to hear from you. We'd love to know what's going on in your world. We'll make sure that we give some space for people to ask questions, but feel free to DM us your thoughts. Maybe there's something out of today's show or just something going on in your world that you've got questions on and you want to hear a discussion about. And we want to talk to you about it.
To prep you for next week.
Oh, yeah.
We are going, I'm not going to say it. I need you to say it.
Oh, she's going to butcher it. We're going to talk a little bit about Encanto. So if you
Encanto.
hadn't watched the movie, you need to
Maybe give it a watch.
Maybe give it a watch, you know. And we're going to reflect on family dynamics.
Chase is going to sing for us.
I'm going to sing. This is on Disney,
Great.
Disney Plus.
Disney Plus.
So check
Yeah.
it out. Very good. I've watched it about 100 times this past week while I was sick with the kids.
Yeah.
Lots of parents I know are watching it. Lots of people are watching it. It's good. It's
I haven't
really
finished
good.
it, but I'm
Montana
on the
hasn't
journey
finished a
too.
lot of things, and that's okay.
It's the journey that matters.
It's the journey that matters.
Okay.
As long as you're content, then that's what matters most.
Complacent.
I literally don't know.
Well, we love you. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.